Welcome to the Unschooling Lifestyle podcast, and join us as we explore various aspects of unschooling, including practical tips for parents, real-life stories, and experiences from unschooling families, discussions on the philosophy behind unschooling, and the benefits and challenges of this alternative but revolutionary approach to education. We also traverse on topics like self-directed learning, holistic development, and creating a nurturing environment that emphasizes a collaborative and respectful relationship between parents and children, fostering a deep connection and understanding of each other. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unschooling Lifestyle. Today we have my dear friend Andrea Quangenti, and she is the founder of a Facebook group that is it's self-directed education, and it's a fantastic resource for parents that are looking to jump into an alternative way of education, but also more geared towards self-directed education and supporting our children. We met online for a while, and then we met. If you follow our podcast, we released an interview with Kristen Hem from New Mexico. And Andrea and I were there also at the same time. So we had a great time. And thank you, Andrea, for being here. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. It's a super nice day. So I'm sitting outside and I'm very well. Thank you.
That's fantastic. So I've been trying to make this conversation with her because she is very spiritual driven. She's very intuitive, and so is her daughter. And when I came into unschooling, I wasn't aware of the concept of star children. I have a friend of mine who I call my unschool soulmate, and she introduced me to the concept of star children. And there was a whole new world open to me that I feel my husband was already part of, but I really wasn't open to it. So I'm wondering, I'm going to start off this podcast, you guys, by kind of sharing what Andrea thinks, little definition of what star children are, and then we're going to go into her story. Andrea, would you mind sharing with us about how you or what you consider a star child? What does that look like?
Sure. Yeah. And I'll just preface that it's definitely not something that I'm an expert on. I've done a lot of research and I have been actively on my spiritual path since 2007,
Mm-hmm.
which to me is always every single day setting time to meditate, to connect, to be grounded, to come back to myself, to have an inner dialogue with my higher self, my angels. So I have been nurturing this for a long time consciously. So I think I was doing it unconsciously before. But so when I think of star children, I would say that it's children that are connecting to the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be, and this is, of course, just the way I see it. It could be angels or guides. It could be extraterrestrials. It could be, it could even be extra dimensionals. Like maybe it could be fairies or, let me see, all the realms. So I would say that I would define a star child as a child connecting to non-physical, but just, yeah. And this could also include passed over loved ones, and even passed over loved ones that um, the children have never even met. I've seen
Yes.
this. So I think that you could take that whole category of children connecting with non-physical and put it into different um, put that into different groups on who exactly they're connecting with. But honestly, I don't think that that's important. Um, as parents raising, and this is what I'll put this towards, parents raising children connecting with non-physical, I don't think that we need to start, especially if they're young, start getting super specific with which star system. I think that I'll just stick with general rather than getting into specifics.
Yes, I absolutely love that because it's connected with non-physical. My now 5-year-old, when he was like 3, he would talk about his space family. He would talk about his space mom, and he would talk about how much he missed them. And he would say that they didn't have candy in space, and he would put candy in a little bowl and he would put it by the window. So this is part of why I wanted to do this podcast, because I want to help other parents to see what is possible. And then but I would also love to hear your story. You said you were like unconsciously, but then you were more conscious. What how was your childhood like?
Yeah, so thanks for asking. I felt I was definitely a very sensitive, intuitive child. I was raised in I mean, it was loving, but it was also kind of very traditional, um, authoritarian style. So the parents, do as I say, not as I do. Don't ask questions. It because I said so was usually the answer. So it was not the best. How I feel now is it wasn't. It was what I embraced my childhood because it was exactly what I needed to be so strong willed to go opposite on the way I'm raising my daughter, who's 11 now. And it just so happened, which probably like intuitively I knew that there was a better way. And I really, really sought after a better way to raise her. So I would say I was definitely sensitive and intuitive. I'll tell you a story. I was thinking back, like the first kind of download that I can remember having. And I can remember my dad was a big hockey player. My brother's still a big hockey player. And so I'm one of four. So there's some girls and boys. And my brother and my dad used to watch hockey a lot. So this one night I was sitting with my dad and my brother watching the Boston Bruins because that's where we're from. You know, we love Boston sports. And I was kind of just dazing off a little bit watching, and just a random thought came to my mind. So I said it, and I said, "Wow, look at all these lights in the stadium. I wonder what would happen if the lights went out." And my dad and my brother were like, "Ugh, it was stop. You're interrupting. Stop talking. If you're gonna watch with us, just be quiet." And I was like, okay, whatever, just sat back. And then, like, a couple minutes later, the lights went out in the stadium.
Oh
And
my goodness.
yeah. And so maybe I was like 10 or 7 or something. I Googled it at one point and found that it actually literally happened. I think it was the playoffs. So in that moment, I said it. They were like, ugh, shut up, be
Hmm.
quiet. And then it happened. And then they just looked at me like I was crazy and was like, "You're weird. Just get out of here. Go with the girl. Go with mom and just, So in my experience, and I will call that was a gift. That was an intuitive hit. That was a download. However you want to say it. It was shut down. It was shunned. I was made to feel well, I shouldn't say I was made to feel. The way I responded as a sensitive child to that was, I'm weird. There's something wrong with me, and I
Hmm.
need to stop this from happening. Right. So
Yeah.
that was what I took from, and it was other experiences too, but that was like the one that I really have a strong memory of. So that response to my psychic psychic connection, whatever you want to call it, um, and plus being raised in a way that it was all about grades and production and success and stop daydreaming. I was not encouraged to use my imagination. I was encouraged to shut it off so that I could focus on what the teacher said, get good
Hmm.
grades, and do what I was told. Like I just
Yes.
needed to fall in line because that was my parents' idea of success. And so I did my best to shut down my gifts, shut down my intuition, and it was bad for me because I was still receiving downloads. But then I thought it ended up being almost like a real big inner conflict, which resulted in depression and some mental illness and hearing these voices, but me trying to say, no, that's not true. And so I could always hear my inner voice. I was always really connected to my spirit or my soul or my inner being. But I tried so hard for a long, long time to shut off that connection. And it didn't go well. It just was because it was still there. And I was trying
Mm-hmm.
to shut it off. And it would come out here and there. So sometimes when I was with my friends, like goofing off, or as I got older and I got into like drinking, a lot of times when my dad was down with like drinking and stuff, I would then get intuitive hits. And it kind of became a little bit of like a party trick, you know? But sometimes if I was not in a good headspace and then I was open to channeling, that
Mm-hmm.
didn't go well either. So there was some scary experiences. And I just thought, I never thought of it as a gift. I thought of it as I thought that there was something wrong with me. And it troubled me for a long time. And that was until, like I said, until my 30s. That,
Wow.
yeah, till, till I had like a crisis that I said, wait a minute, I need to, to I need to get in touch with my spirit. I've been shutting it down and just being so linear for so long. And that's when I decided, that's when I started to realize, like, oh my God, this is actually a gift. I can connect with angels. I can connect with past over loved ones. Those messages that I was getting are good. And it's not, there wasn't a risk like that I would connect with some demon or be possessed or what
Mm-hmm.
my mom was really scared about connecting to negative entities.
It's so interesting your story about the stadium though, because it reminded me with my oldest son was like, he was like 3. We were changing him for the night and he pointed at the ceiling and he said water. And we're like, it wasn't raining, right? It wasn't raining. The house had never had a leak. That ceiling was like good, solid, right? So we just said, yeah, water, and that was it. But we didn't really believe anything. Obviously, he was like 3, so there wasn't really much that he was saying. But so we went to bed, and then a few hours later into the night, it was the middle of the night, my husband woke up so because the ceiling actually started leaking that night. But there was no rain. I mean, honestly, there was no rain. There was no prior sign of damage, of water damage or anything like that. So it was incredibly, incredibly, just, to see that and to not really, we didn't know what to do with it. We didn't know what to do with it as a parent. So I can't even imagine how hard it would have been for you to like navigate those almost 2 sides of you. And then so how do you so you go through it, you get these downloads, and then like, and then at that moment when you decide to shift, how do you come back onto this path that it feels like you were always on, but you're like, no, let me go to the side of the road. How do you come back to center?
So it was just through crisis that made
Yeah.
me want to say, you know what, I want to get in touch with. There's more to just the physical. There's more to life, and let me investigate and find a higher meaning. And that's when I realized that. I mean, I probably didn't even remember that story until I started to go to spiritual circles and go to meditations. And I took one of the
Mhm.
first classes I took was a spirit communication class because I was getting in touch with like my grandparents and other people that had passed over. I was getting a lot of downloads or voices, or sometimes I would get smells or feelings. And
Mhm.
so my path, the way I kind of decoded it is I worked with professionals. I took classes, I made it a practice because
Mhm.
I think I just needed the hand holding. And I love learning. And I'm a lifetime
Mhm.
learner anyways, and I still take classes to this day. So it was so important. I mean, I just had this inner conflict for like a solid 20 years. And then when I became a mom, I was like, okay, if that is, I'm going to do the opposite of that. I want to let her inner voice come through. I want to
Yes.
honor her imagination, her creativity, her visions, whatever comes through. But at the same time, I didn't want to try to so it's a really balanced place. I didn't want to try to force anything like, oh, are you seeing any angels today? Like, I
Yes.
didn't want to it's because because now, by the time, yeah, so like '07, I started getting really into spirituality, and I didn't have her to two thousand 13. So
Okay.
yeah, I had a long, long time to kind of decode things and to work on my frequency, um, so so that so that I did feel safe, and I did know that I was connecting with high vibration beings. Um, yeah, so hopefully, with me telling my story, people can see the passion, the reason why I am
Yeah.
that there was absolutely no way I was going to raise my daughter in the old paradigm. No
Yes.
way at all, because I just couldn't live with myself if I was going to push her into mental illness and
Mhm.
insecurities and lack of confidence, and that those controlling systems. It, even though I was successful on paper, I had so much happening in my
Mhm.
mind, and yeah, so I was really, really seeking. So I think like everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
uh yeah, so that was strong enough. There was a lot, a lot of me pain and suffering to say I'm doing it a different way. I don't
Yeah.
care if my parents, my siblings, my family, I don't care who says that this isn't the right way. I know it
Yeah.
is. I know for a fact it is. I know through experience, through my heart, through connection, this is the right way for us. But again, I don't push the unschooling or the conscious parenting on anyone. If someone's interested, I'm happy to talk about it. But and I love supporting other parents that are interested. So I found out about the Sudbury School
Yes.
from Abraham Hicks, who is a channeler. So when I started to consciously uncover my gifts and work with my gifts, or my connection, which I'll just say this, everyone is connected. So this is the philosophy that I follow that I think would be great for other parents that have children that they consider a star child, an indigo, rainbow, crystal child. There's all kinds of names, sensitive, highly sensitive,
Mhm.
and not saying everyone, all of these categories do have their differences, but I would, love to gear this towards parents and even educators that have sensitive, in tune children, regardless of who they're connecting with, if they're calling them angels or star families or space families. I really want to just give some general advice from my experience.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so the philosophy that I embrace now, what I believe, and geez, almost any spiritual teacher is gonna agree that so to start with the premise that we are all spiritual beings, we
Mm.
all come from spirit, we all return back to spirit. So to start with that premise, um, so and so we exist. We're all indestructible. We're all eternal spirits, all of us. My cat, this bug, us, our children. So for me, that is to embrace. When I say that I'm a spiritual person, that is the way I see all living things, even the tree. You know.
Mhm.
Um, so to take this philosophy to our children, um, and I guess the next step would be that it's natural that there are spirits around us all the
Around
time.
us, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and I can draw. I actually, in some of my sketches, I have like a sketch of all of the different categories. If we're talking about angels and guides and like, there's so many, but it all is based on our frequency. So
Yes.
if we look, this is what I know to be true. Years and years. I mean, I have been dialing into spirit on all different frequencies, and believe me, I get what I'm at. If I was having a bad night that involved alcohol and shenanigans and some danger, and I was in a bad place, and then I opened myself up, it wasn't good.
It wasn't good, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I'm not going to say that everything is unicorns and rainbows and angels. right? But at the bottom line is that children are naturally in a high frequency, right?
Yes.
So I would say for the most part, children are going to be connecting with high vibration beings for the most part. Um, and I think as parents that are supporting them, and this goes right back to the unschooling philosophy and the spiritual parent philosophy and conscious parenting. It's really not about them, it's about us, right? So it
Hmm.
comes back to our own healing and our own connection and our own frequency. Where are we parenting from? Are we parenting from fear? Are we parenting from love? So, and of course, the pendulum, that's our journey. That's the parent's journey, is to investigate our fears and to be honest with what we do fear, and heal those. It's, not avoid them, but to heal them so we can be present for our children, for the child in front of us, not the child that we think we want them to be, or for who we were trained that we should be, the idea of success and happiness. But to be present for who they are is really about our own connection to ourselves, our true selves. So I would say, to be present with ourselves and our child, no matter what they're
Mm,
experiencing, especially if they're connecting to um, non-human intelligence. I don't know what we want to
mhm.
call it. Spiritual beings, maybe.
See, I just love everything that you said, just being present and support them because children will naturally be connected to higher frequencies. I so agree with that. And you had your daughter, and then so you already know. So you're from the beginning, you're conscious parenting. So what does your journey with her look like? I know she has had her own experiences without you saying, like you said, are you seeing any angels today? Like, is there something happening today? How do you start seeing that more in her at the beginning, or at what point does it start showing for her?
So let's see. I'm just trying to think from the beginning. Maybe when she was around 2 or 3, she would
Hmm.
actually look up, just look. We would be home, and she would look up and say, "Oh," she was saying, what I interpreted, she was saying "TT Tom." And I was like, "Oh," but she was like, "Oh, TT Ton is here." And I would say, "Okay." And the very, very, very first thing I do is just check in with my frequency. What is happening? How am I feeling? How is she feeling? And what is happening in her?
Hmm.
Is the news on? Back then, I don't even have cable anymore. We don't even watch TV. But is the new what is the frequency? What is happening in this environment? Okay, so that's a self check in. And when I say frequency, what I mean is frequency, vibration, mood. What mood am I in? Am I relaxed? Am I calm? Am I open? Am I worried? Am I anxious? Am I stressed? So that is going to dial into, because we're in the room together, right?
Hmm.
So it's me, her, and what she's experiencing. So what? Let me get a feel for what is happening in this room. What is happening? And we were feeling great. I was feeling relaxed and calm. I felt that my frequency was good. It wasn't like I was like dialed in and in a trance and channeling, but overall the frequency was good and happy and feeling good. So I just ask some questions like, "Oh, who is that? What do you see?" Just some basic questions. So it's
Hmm.
really about balance. I think when your child is in an experience, the very, very, very first thing, check in with yourself. Where are you? What's happening? Because if it's something that, if I would just say, if you check in and it's feels, because you'll know, even if you're not intuitive or psychic, as a parent, you're going to know what's happening. You can tune into this. It's not anything that you need years of training to do. You can tune into what's happening for
Hmm.
sure, right? So I would say if everything is feeling good and calm, then you can allow their experience. Maybe ask a couple questions, um, and when they're done, they're done. And if they want to
Hmm.
keep talking about it, let them keep talking. And then if they really want to continue to express what's happening, then you can get into Do you want to draw a picture? Do you mind if I take a video? Can I write this down for you? So you're validating their experience, right? So you're helping them take what's in their heart, what's in their mind, and getting it out, right?
Yes.
Because so you're allowing the information and the experience to flow through them. You're receiving the experience, right?
Hmm.
So I think that is the best way to help them process it, right? But you're not defining it, right? You're just asking questions. So this is like active listening, right? Can you see anything? Can you smell anything? Are there any colors? Do you want to talk more? And what will usually happen, I don't know if this has happened to you, is maybe they'll answer, depending on their age, they'll answer a couple questions and they'll be like, oh, okay, done. And then they'll just go pick
Yes.
up a toy and go have fun and then just be done with it. If you want, you can record the experience just for yourself or not. You can just move on. I'm a journaler anyway, so I would maybe like write down or
Yes.
um, yeah, and one time I said, oh, do you mind if I take a video of you talking about it? So I have a video which we could share. Um, Maybe my daughter was, so wait, I'm sorry, let me go back. So the first thing that she was saying was TT Tom. And I think I asked her, I said, well, are they your angels? And from what she could understand, she said, yes, these are my angels. Um, and that story of those two, we'll just call them angels, has come with her to a
Oh,
point
wow.
that so let's just say that was maybe when she was around 2 or 3, and those names evolved and into her and her friend. I don't think they're doing it anymore, but one of her friends started a journal recording their spiritual experiences.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it developed, but not of
Hmm.
any. So I think that it's about balance here, right?
Hmm.
Honoring their experience, just not judging it, right? Because that's
Yes.
what happened to me, right? You're there's some. I mean, even to this day, I just turned 50. I would say that my siblings still think that there is something wrong with me. To be quite honest, they're still a little bit like,
I
I
was
don't.
gonna ask you about your
It,
family.
yeah, it's like, I mean, I think that we're all to a point of accepting and respect, but they still don't understand
They
or
don't
get the
understand it. Yeah.
information, so they think that it's not trustworthy, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's not a linear thing, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
So
That's their journey.
exactly. So that's why I would say don't push it, because
Hmm.
now I'm really deep into the spiritual community, and you have a child, and you're like, oh, they're going to be a star being, and they're going to be, connected, and they may or may not, and that's okay. Um, so just honoring and being present with the child you have, honoring their experiences, asking questions, letting them just say it and then be done. And the other big piece is to deal with your own feelings, because
Hmm.
of course we're parents. Like, you're talking about something that we can't. I mean, you can control your babysitters, your school, the family they're around. You can control so much, but on the spiritual realm, it can really, a lot of fears can come up because you don't know who this is visiting your child, and it's not something that you could just shut the door on. It's not.
Yes.
I believe that it is not something you could
No,
just. It's
yeah.
not. So we have free will. Even a child 6 months old, they have their own free will, and they're
Hmm.
going to be connecting to their own spiritual families, whether we like it, right? So
Yes.
if we try to shut it down, I believe that is not the way to go, and it's going to create inner turmoil. So it really is best to get to a point that we can accept it and
Hmm.
nurture it, and to just be in touch with what's happening, so that we can keep the communication open. Because I never mentioned anything else to my father or my brother because they already thought I was crazy. Why would I even tell them? Right? So
Yes.
so when you shut it down, you're shutting a part of the
Of yourself.
person down. Um,
Hmm.
so if you are, I would say if there are parents out there that are experiencing fears, you really have to go do your own work. You have to get into healing. You have to ask yourself these questions about what your fears are and where those fears come from, and turning those, embracing fears, and because that's what our children are here to do. They're raising us too, right? We're evolving.
Yes.
we're evolving with them, and especially if it's a spiritual child or a star child, they're really gonna push the buttons to activate the deep fears in us, but not as a negative, as a way for us to heal and
Yes.
to get better as a family,
Hmm.
right? To evolve as a family, to become more spiritual as a family. Um,
Oh my
so I think
goodness, that's so beautiful. Thank you.
and I'm not saying it's easy, believe me,
Yeah.
being on the healing path and embracing your fears is, it's not easy. And that's why I'm really big on professionals, very big on professionals. I can't even tell you how many people I've worked with, from, but once you get into the spiritual thing, um, I think you probably want to start thinking about working with people that are like psychics and healers and, maybe like Reiki masters and people that are going to embrace it, because the conventional therapy is only going to get you so far,
Hmm. Hmm.
and what, so I think that if, just depending on where parents are in their journey, I think that if you're experiencing a star child or a psychic child or spiritual child, it's, if you're not into spirituality, like, that's okay. I'm not saying that you have to take this journey that I have, becoming a spiritual person. I would say that if you're looking for help, you probably want to tap into the spiritual community for help, with your fears around having a child that's connected to spirits.
Oh my goodness. You said so much and I'm like, yes, 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 yes in my mind, and it's like, but because this is so powerful. It's so powerful because the children, I wrote a post not too long ago, I think I call it I title it Our Children Are Our Greatest Cosmic Teachers, because they are here, at least for me in my experience, like I love spending time with them, and the learning, the deeper healing that I have done has been because they were here to tell me in their most beautiful, innocent, tiny hand way, like, lady, you need to do your own work. Like, we are not going to put up with you like this. Like, this isn't working for us. And I've, slowly through different friends, and like you said, I'm also a big fan of classes. I love taking classes. I love learning from people and, resonating with people, but from a very expansive way, and I feel like there's, as you start your journey, the people that you want to connect with, like Andrew's saying, like healers, Reiki masters, but everything that feels expansive, like that are not going to judge you. And I feel almost more often than not, I remember some of the things that I used to love as a child were shut down for me because I was shamed for it. Just trust yourself, really trust your intuition. So what does your unschooling life looks like?
So, I mean, it's really beautiful because my spiritual path, being a spiritual parent, being a conscious parent, really, and then I was a Montessori parent, which is child led. It really all came together, and
Yes.
now we're unschoolers and world schoolers, so it's all in alignment.
Mhm.
It's all in alignment about honoring her as a spirit, as an eternal spirit, honoring
Mhm.
her, but still taking the parent role serious, right?
Of course.
As the parent, we engage in, appropriate, um, appropriate things for her. So we do. We've been traveling a lot in our RV.
Mhm.
So we do a lot of world schooling, museums, national parks, all consent based. Okay, so I'm not dragging her along, yeah, this isn't just like, oh yeah, now I get to travel and come on, kid, you like this, right? Right? No.
Yes.
So being honest with her passions and getting to a point where, like, because we're just a two-person family, it's just her and I. But what do we both want to do?
Mhm.
Where are the win-wins? And some things are not win-wins, and that's okay. If she wants to go for a swim, but I'm really not in the mood, okay, like, okay, we'll go swimming. If I want to go for a hike, but she's not really in the mood, okay, well, now we'll go for a hike. So we do a lot of fun things. We do have a
Mhm.
Tuesday co-op that we've been in for almost 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's evolved, and it's play based and child led. So that works well because we pick different outdoor and indoor activities to get together. So it's a social group. Um, summer's fun. Summer tends to be a little bit more quiet when we can just meet friends at the beach and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And then usually like fall and winter pick up a little bit more. Like there are some classes I'm looking at. I'm still not 100% sure if we're going to travel for winter or if we're going to settle down here in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So we're kind of winging it a little bit, which is nice. But what I do, so I'm in my local Facebook groups for homeschoolers, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
also in global unschooling groups. And this is part of who I am. I'm a social person. I love travel. I love learning. And so I keep an eye on what's happening. And if I see something that looks interesting, then I'll say, hey, do you want to take an art class on Mondays? Or this theater group looks good. Do you want to do this? So and so is going on a hike. Do you want to join? And then we just kind of make those decisions together. So
Yes.
yeah. We have been doing camping trips with the same group of friends for the past couple of years. And, we were just talking about that. Like, I always check in,
Yes.
um, even if it seems redundant. And I think that that's part of being in the present moment, whether it's for unschooling or for supporting a child having spiritual experiences or connecting with other beings. And sometimes she'll say, like, why do you keep asking me that? And I said, well, I just want to know how you feel now
Yes.
about it. Like,
Oh
do
my
you
goodness.
still
Yes.
I just want to check in, because allowing them to change, allowing their passions to change. Um,
Yes.
like my daughter went through a huge Lego phase, huge. She just loved them. She would save up and get sets and make them and display them. And then, she stopped liking Legos. And, I kind of had to tell people to give her gifts. Like, no, she's actually not into, and that was okay. It was
She's
okay for
done
her.
with them. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So she has been more into theater and animals. I would say are like her top hobbies and passions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in some of the more global groups, and now I'm also in spiritual groups. So this winter she took an animal communication class where
Yes.
the children learn to relax and connect with the spirit of the animal and get information and get relevant information. So
That's
that
so
was,
amazing.
yeah. So I have like tons and tons of resources, and people are welcome to contact me directly. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
PM me. I'm happy to share what I know, or you can also just come to the self-directed education group and put a post, and then we can all kind of chime in
Yes.
with resources and ideas. But I just made like a little bit of a list of like my top three um, advice for
Oh
parents.
yes, please.
Yeah, so in this, all of these are going to support a child having spiritual experiences or an unschooling child, because I just wanted to keep it simple, because really the core of what's happening um, it is to um, I think it's all about the present moment, and this should be a
Mm-hmm.
gift, and it should be a huge sense of relief, because everything that has happened up to this moment, none of that matters, because we can decide in the moment to connect with our child and say, "Oh my God," and apologies are great. A really one that I love a lot that I've used throughout my journey is Ho'oponopono. If you've heard of that.
No, I don't think so.
So it's a forgiveness process. Um, so we can forgive ourselves for all the times we weren't present with our kids, or we did let
Mm-hmm.
fear take the lead, or maybe we said, like, that's your imagination. You're not connecting with anyone. Turn that off,
Yeah,
because it can be
yeah.
scary.
So much guilt around that when you do the inner work and you're like, oh, sorry, yeah, there's a lot of guilt that are around that. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so forgiving ourselves for all the times that we weren't present, or all the times that fear was leading.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiving ourselves, and and then even saying to our child, like, I'm sorry, I wasn't in the best state of mind, and I really wish in that moment I could have been there for you. So I'm sorry. And the way the Ho'oponopono is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. So it's 4 affirmations that kind of make a complete full circle. So you can use
Okay.
that with yourself and your child, and that really helps to get back to the present moment and to be even more present, where you can say, you know what, maybe I was a shitty parent that day, because there are
Yes.
times that we're not perfect. I mean, we have so much on our plates. So
Yes.
forgiving ourselves, and then even asking for forgiveness. Like a lot of times I'll say, I remember one of our teachers at Montessori saw me do this and was kind of looked at me weird, and I said, I'm so sorry. I was not in my best
Hmm.
state. Do you forgive me? And the teacher was just looking at me kind of like, oh, and she was like, oh, I forgive you. And then you could just move on,
Yes.
and start fresh. So the beauty of the present moment is that it's always new, and it's
Yes.
always all that matters. All
Yeah.
that other stuff doesn't matter, because you can choose in the present moment. It is always a new moment
Yes.
that you can be who you want to be in the present.
In the present moment. Yes. I really learning to apologize for me was a new one though. I'm trying to separate my own stuff from putting, unnecessary pressure on them, because they don't know what I'm going through or all the stuff that I have going on. But I love the work around it because it really brings it's so much easier to come back to the present and to be able to move on and not get stuck in those cycles of like, oh my gosh, I was so mean, or I wish I would have acted differently. I really love apologizing because it's hard
Yeah.
for adults to apologize to children.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and at the end of the day, once we apologize to our children and our parents, and it really comes back to apologizing to us, because we're the
Hmm.
ones that we're going to hold the most accountable for. We're the ones that we're going to, that, oh, I wish I didn't do that. And why did I even let myself get so hungry? And, why didn't it, like, I think the self apology, even for just picking up bad habits, like I know that that's not the right thing to do, but it's a habit, so I
Yeah.
think when you come at it with an apology, that's a way to recognize it and say, yes, that was not myself, that was wrong, but I'm willing to learn, to
Yeah.
keep.
And to do better.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that, so something else that's just huge in all of these categories, from spirituality to unschooling, is to be the living example, right? And
Yes.
this is not about being perfect, because our kids aren't perfect and we're not perfect either, and all of that is fine. We're all evolving. We're
Hmm.
all eternal spirits on a journey, right? To be the example that if
Yes.
if you are, and this is the self-awareness. So that's what I'm saying, is that when your child is having a spiritual experience or connecting, to check in. Where am I? Am I angry? Am I out of it? Am I connected? Am I relaxed? Am I grounded? Uh, so to have that self-awareness, and to lead by example. Uh, so when it comes to, so we'll just say, if we notice that things are getting, the energy is getting chaotic or angry,
Hmm.
we'll just say pause. And a lot of times, if my cat's there, we'll just touch his paw to say pause, to kind of like a play on words, and
Yes.
that'll kind of break the energy, because sometimes I
Yes.
don't know why, like we just get so worked up with like, no, we need to get this done now. What's happening? And then I'm like, wait a minute, we could pause, and anyone can do it. Let's pause ourselves, press
Hmm.
pause, press his paw,
Yeah,
press
that's
pause,
so
and let's
cute.
just check in. Like, are we thirsty? Are we hungry?
Hmm.
Are we tired? Do we need to just like get outside, get fresh air? And that's a great thing to model,
Yes.
and have a way to for them to know too. Why not have fun with it? You know, with our kids, and you can
Hmm.
make up some funny thing, like a lion in a cage, or press the cat's paw,
Hmm.
to pause, or make a fun one, to say, wait a minute, things are not feeling good right now,
Yes.
let's check in, let's come
Let's
back
check
to
in.
ourselves,
Hmm.
which is the same thing about coming back to the present moment, because
Yes.
when you are angry or ruminating, out of control, or fixated on something, you're not in the present moment. You're in
Correct.
your head, you're in thoughts.
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm. and you're feeling pressure from something that that hasn't happened. You're feeling pressure, perhaps to do the laundry or to do the dishes. The dishes will always be there, and they're not the pressure that you feel isn't necessarily from the dishes, but it's from our own conditioning that we feel that we need to get those things done. So being in the present moment is definitely and modeling. I feel like we do ask a lot of our children, but we don't model what we ask of them. uh, Do you have any other tips for us, Andrea?
So I would just say that just in case, if there is something negative happening, and
Mm-hmm.
I had experiences like this as a kid, which were
Yeah, me too.
also really traumatizing. Um, let's just say your child is connecting with something and you're not feeling good, the energy isn't feeling good, you're feeling something negative, they're scared, maybe they're crying. Um, I believe that we can dial into negative spirits, negative
Hmm.
energies. We can definitely do that. It's not that common with kids, to be quite honest, but it is possible. So I would say, in that experience, if you notice your child in a low vibration experiencing fear, this is the time for you to come into alignment, to be present. Whatever else is happening, your child needs you, right?
Yes.
So even if it's like a meltdown or something, so trying to think of how I can explain. So I would get myself in a good place, get myself grounded.
Hmm.
Um, this is where you can use spiritual tools, but all of the tools and crystals and sage, all that stuff, you could do all of that without any of it. It's all based on your frequency and your vibration. So if you come into a parental role and say, I am here, love is present, where love is present, fear cannot exist. Okay. So shifting, so taking control of the situation energetically, vibrationally, um, and taking it, taking you're the parent, right?
Hmm.
So we can, um, we have a right to do a right and an obligation to do this, and say if there is a negative or fear-based spirit, love is present here. So coming in with a strong, loving, grounded vibe, embracing your child, and even just, pushing away all those. And you could take that further if you want to look into like energy clearing or,
Yes.
but I just need parents to know that it's not about the tools. You don't have to go spend a dime a nickel on candles and incense and I mean, you can if you want, just for fun, but you don't
Yes.
need any of those
Any of it.
tools.
Hmm.
Your loving embrace, and also with the confidence that my frequency is up to me, no one else, no one else. So when you're in alignment and in the present moment, nothing can change your frequency. Nothing.
Yes.
It's because that's up to us. That's our own free will. That's who we are as spiritual beings. And you can emanate good. I wouldn't fight fear with fear. You can emanate loving vibes,
Hmm.
a loving, and that will clear away anything.
I feel like we could keep on talking forever and like expanding on how unschooling, self-directed education helps us for us to have the moments to ground with our children and kind of go through life in the present moment. You're not rushing, so you can move on to the next to the next benchmark. um it can be a little unsettling sometimes, when because we're used to using benchmarks as a way to measure success. And actually, if you head over to the self-directed education Facebook group, there was a really interesting post by a grown schooler that we hope to have on our podcast soon, but she did really mention about how you define success. So that is something to ponder on as we move into alternative education, or just a way of choosing how we live our life. What does our success looks like, and how does that makes us feel? Because I mean, for me right now, success is just being able to be at home, really, like, being able to just be with my children and being this facilitator for them, which you are also for your daughter. And I kind of do that. My boys also say, why do you keep asking me? you know um And it's like, I think it's part of the unschooling, like our way of living, to make sure that if I commit to something, I don't do that as often. I don't commit to things a month in advance, 2 months in advance. I don't do that often. Um, but when I do, we check in again with each other like a day or two before to prepare, because everyone's here is allowed to change their mind, right? You know,
Right, right.
and everyone's journey is different. So if you're not feeling it, that's okay. How can we accommodate that? I really want to go to this thing. Can we make it happen? Can we meet in the middle? So it's about everyone meeting everyone's needs. And honestly, that is just like, it's such a flow, because when everybody wants to go somewhere, I'm not screaming, I'm not rushing anyone out of the house. Honestly, half the time when everyone wants to go somewhere, I'm the one behind, because I'm grabbing my keys, I'm grabbing my wallet, I'm grabbing my purse. They just go onto the car and then they strap themselves in and they're waiting. I'm honestly 100% of the time, I swear to you, this is how it goes, because everyone has decided for themselves that they want to be part of this activity that we're going to, of this group. Andrew, what else do you do for, I know at some point you had parent groups. Do you still do that? Like, I know, I feel like you were holding like parent groups, circles.
Yeah, I mean, I have done a lot. So on my spiritual path, I decided at one point to start hosting, gathering,
Mm-hmm.
and teaching and doing workshops. So I have worked with adults and parents and children and families. Um, and then more recently, I have been hosting unschoolers. Right now, it's been a little quiet just because with traveling so much,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have been focusing on um, the self-directed education group, so people can find me there. And also, I have been video blogging on my YouTube channel, which
Yeah,
is
you do
Aqua
amazing
Rose
videos.
Life. Thank you. It's been a little quiet. We've got some fun stuff happening here at home. So I do think eventually I will have some other offerings. But
Okay.
right now, it's people are welcome to come to my personal profile and follow me there. I use that for like more of a public. I do share stuff about my family, but also uh, between the self-directed group, my YouTube channel, and my personal Facebook profile, everyone is welcome to find me there and connect. And even if someone wanted to do like a joint project, or if we actually wanted to sit down and do a meditation where we can connect to, because at the end of the day, like once we let go of the fears and we're really there, this is exciting to see like
It's so
who are
exciting.
these angels? Who are we connected to? Because if our kids are connected, then there's another whole star family lineage. This is a gift.
Yes.
Once we can get comfortable with what's happening and we know that it feels good, there is an infinite potential of income, energy, and support. So at the end of the day, as long as it's feeling good, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So this is why it's been such a passion for me to keep my daughter's connections open. This is going
Yes.
to carry her through life. I mean, having that intuition open, knowing something just doesn't feel right. I'm not going to get into this class tonight. Those types of skills and gifts I
Mm-hmm.
feel is going to take kids and children through their teen years, through adulthood, having their intuition intact and having spiritual beings that they can connect to, download from. I mean, it really sets them up for access to information and support far, literally far beyond
Yes.
beyond our world. So I do see it as a huge gift and a huge benefit. And I think we've only kind of gotten to like step one. So maybe at some point we could do a step two, because there's so many ways that I've learned, and I'm happy to share those where we as parents can connect, because we're their guardians, on a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual level and on an earth level. So
On
we
this earth
have the
level.
right, we can connect to what they're connecting to and see what the message is. And I'll just say, maybe this would be a teaser for like another thing that we could do. Um, there's a reason. There's a reason my daughter was connecting to those angels,
Mm-hmm.
T. And then she went through a phase where she was connecting to Jesus. And so all of these phases were important to what was happening in life. So you can dive into these spiritual experiences, and they're just filled with gifts, treasures, and it's quite amazing to connect to our spiritual family and our allies, because that type of support is It's unconditional. And the more, it's not like a limited thing, like, oh, well, Jesus could help me with that particular thing. I mean, it is unlimited, it's infinite, the amount of spiritual help you can call it. Um, so the fact that they're tapping in at a young age, I think is amazing.
It feels like so expansive and just so amazing for goodness to come through, no matter of like loving the time that we're in, and perhaps sharing the love and passing that and transmuting what's not meant to, what was painful, what was hard, just kind of like just helping everyone else. I think this is probably like another like further along, I think we could do a number two podcast as a follow up with Andrea, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into the reason. But I do believe they are there. They are here to give us some guidance. And yes, I believe in their timing, right? Whatever they're seeing, they're feeling, the energies and frequencies are also here to give us some sort of clues on how to be better and how to stay present. So oh my gosh, thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing all of your wisdom, your experience. I really, really appreciate it. Do you have any words as we close up? Everyone's journey into unschooling is very different, right? Do you have any words for parents to leap into following that intuition that I feel like we all have?
So I just think it's a journey. So I would
Hmm.
just see it, and it's a never ending journey, you know? So I would just see it as just little small steps, wherever you're at. If it's getting a book, joining a book club, joining the self directed education Facebook group or another group. But I think community is huge.
Yes.
Talking to real people like us, we're here to help them. That's why we're admins, because people helped us,
Hmm.
and people are still helping me. And I'm sure, so we're a
Yes.
team, we're a network, we're a community. So I would say find community, and if it's virtual at first, great, or maybe there are physical people, but get help, reach out to community, talk to real people, and just know that it's just one step at a time. And the deschooling process is huge, and it's
Yes.
the healing process. It's seeing our fears and challenges as gifts, because what's going to happen is as we uncover them and heal and forgive ourselves and learn from them, it's just going to help us be a better person. So that energy that was going to the fears is now part of the love and the presence that you can give
Hmm.
yourself and your child, your community, and our whole world. So every time we run into an obstacle, a challenge, a fear, a stumbling block, even as it is uncomfortable and it's scary, but to know that that challenge is there for a reason, and we can transmute that and add that
Yes.
to our positive energy and our
Hmm.
impact and how we show up for ourselves. So I would say just hang in there,
Hmm.
especially if you're currently experiencing something that's really um, a traumatic or a really big challenge. You're probably on the brink of getting to the next step. So
Hmm.
eh, get help. Let us help you. You know,
Yes.
and if I can't help you personally, then I can introduce you to people or help point you in the direction of your next step.
Yes, thank you so much. That's so important. If someone comes to me and I'm like I'm not the one to help, I love referring people to other people that I think they can help you, because I'm not here to do it all by myself. We are not here to do it alone. Like she said, finding community, whether it's virtual, and then later on maybe in person, knowing that you are definitely not alone and we are not meant to do it alone. So um, yes, just dive into it. The deschooling evolves. It's a process that evolves as we face our fears and the conditioning. Andrea, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We're gonna put all of our links. Stay tuned for podcast number two, where we dive deeper into the angels and the frequencies and what that shows us as we move forward into this beautiful journey of humanity that we're on right now. So thank you so
Oh,
much, Andrea. We'll see you soon. For everyone out there, please remember that your time is precious. I hope you're making it count. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Unschooling Lifestyle podcast today. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights to help you on your unschooling journey. If you're ready to take the next step in crafting your own version of the unschooling lifestyle, we invite you to join our email list for exclusive content and updates, or consider connecting with us for personalized one-on-one coaching. Remember, you have the power to create a learning environment that truly resonates with your family's values and aspirations. Until next time, please remember that your time is precious. I hope you're making it count.